Hey, welcome back to the Big Red Zone. We are very excited for today's show. We're talking a lot of football today, this week in the NFL, all the normal picks of the week, waiver pickups. We'll get into that. We also have a World Series ahead of us, the Rays versus the Dodgers. We'll give our input on that, who we think are going to win, predictions, such, as well as a fun game that we're going to play, the NBA Mount Rushmore Challenge. All that and more on this week's episode of the Big Red Zone. Welcome to the podcast. It's the Big Red Zone. I'm your host, Big Red. As always, I am joined by producer John.
Yes, sir.
And Danny Football.
Ready to go.
How's it going, fellas? Great to see you on the internet waves remotely.
The interwebs.
You look better over your video than you do in person.
Oh, well, thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. You look great. In the dark over there, they always say you look better in the dark.
I don't want to get a sunburn, so I got to keep it dark.
Oh, you just went very dark.
We're on a black screen right now.
Yeah, it's mood lighting over there. What's going on over there?
You know, I'm expecting company in a little bit.
Jeez, all right, we'll finish. We'll try to get this over fast, I guess. It's gonna be a quick episode on the Big Red Zone. So real quick before we get into it, make sure if you're joining us, make sure you go follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Big Red Zone. You can follow, if you're listening on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts. And what do we always say, fellas?
Leave a review on Apple Podcast.
Do I keep saying that wrong? I said
no, I know. I'm just kidding.
I finally said it right. I wrote it down how to say it.
And tell a friend.
Tell a friend. Please tell a friend.
Just one.
Just one friend. I think we should get into it because we got a lot to unpack in this episode. Let's get into our first segment, Weekend Recap. It's the Weekend Recap. Okay, for Weekend Recap, our first game on the agenda is probably the most entertaining one. I want to end with this one. Let's end with this one.
Okay.
Zach. We're going to change the order. Let's go Steelers-Browns.
He's calling an audible.
I'm calling an audible. I was going to leave it because it is like the best game of the week, but I kind of think we should save it. We're going Steelers-Browns. Steelers, who were my pick of the week. Cue the applause sound. Thank you. Thank you. Steelers destroyed the Browns. Baker gets benched in the middle of the game. Like, Danny Football, give me your initial thoughts on the Steelers-Browns game.
So myself, along with Jack Moran, are big Baker Mayfield guys. If I could, I would field a team of 11 Baker Mayfields. But the stock is plummeting. It's not looking good. Gets benched for Case Keenum. The Browns get put back in their place by the Steelers. Just get bullied for 4 straight quarters. And, it's not looking good in Cleveland right now. They were flying high after last week, but it's not looking good right now.
The thing that confuses me about the Browns, I mean, they were on a roll. But I guess when they're 4-2. The Colts team, they have a pretty good defense, not that great. They won against the Cowboys' terrible defense, but their offense was really good in that game. They beat Washington. They beat Washington. They beat the Bengals. They beat bad teams or not great teams, I guess.
They're winning the games they need to be winning, but they're not stealing games that they need.
If you look at
a huge game to have,
their 2 losses that they had were against the Steelers and the Ravens.
Right.
Ravens beat them 38-6. Steelers beat them 38-7. So
just showing you the gap between the top of that division and everyone else.
Right. And I mean, I think they're going to be okay because next week they get the Bengals. They play the Raiders, which will be a good game.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Raiders and the Browns are pretty close to where they're at.
I'd say so. Talent-wise, yes.
Talent-wise. The Texans, I think Texans are close. They're going to rattle off a few wins, but they probably should beat the Texans. The Eagles aren't that great. They should beat them. The Jags aren't that great. Titans probably will be another 38-7 loss. Ravens will be a loss. The Giants, they should win. Like, there's some winnable games in the schedule, but
They're not beating the better teams.
They're not beating any of the really top teams like the Steelers and the Ravens, who are top AFC champions, top AFC teams.
Like, ideally, you would want to split with the Steelers and Ravens on this team, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think you're going to lose both series, and then that's 4 losses just from your division.
Right. But if you look at it, and I don't know how much stock you're going to put into it, the Browns do play both of those games at home. So they play the Ravens at home and the Steelers at home at the end of the season.
I would argue those are 2 games that you need to get one out of.
You need to split one of those 2 games. You need to beat the Ravens or the Steelers. Now
they can still sneak in as a wild card, but just for their own confidence, they need to be able to beat the Steelers or Ravens.
Well, remember, like wild card wise, only one team wins the division. That's a very good division at the top of the top of their division with the Ravens and the Steelers. So one of those teams is going to be a wild card team. So they need to be very good to end. Like, it's not often that we see 3 teams from one division.
Unless it's the NFC West.
Unless it's the NFC. Well, that's true. But I love what I see from the Steelers. I think they're a very good team. I knew that going into this season.
I was going to say, dude, take a victory lap on the Chase Claypool train.
I'm working my way in there, Danny Football. These things I like to. I'm a gentleman. I'm going to work my way into it. I like the Steelers coming into the season. I said getting Big Ben back was huge. People wanted to write off James Conner. He is injury prone, but let me tell you, when he has Big Ben at the helm, he's a totally different player. Totally different player. And I knew they were going to be better, and they have been excellent throughout this season. The Claypool train has arrived. He had another touchdown this week. Put him into my fantasy lineup with no fear. Helped me get a W this week on a team that I thought was in rough shape. I think the Steelers are the real deal. And something, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, and I'm not just talking Steelers here, I'm talking Ravens in this as well. But I don't know about you, going into the season, especially after week 1, I thought KC was on a different level. I thought no one was close to them. They're the clear-cut favorites to come out of the AFC. No one's going to beat them. It's pretty much who's going to play them in the Super Bowl. And after the last few weeks of KC, we're not going to get into the games. I mean, they just beat the Bills, and they have that game. I don't think it's so clear-cut they're going to beat the Ravens. I don't think it's so clear-cut they're going to beat the Steelers.
They're not invincible. They don't look like they're invincible.
Yeah, I mean, maybe adding Le'Veon Bell. I don't know how much.
No, he's a bum. Absolute bum.
I don't think so. And plus, Clyde Edwards-Helaire looked like someone that was nervous about losing his job today. He had a heck of a day. Made me sweat a little bit in my fantasy game. And but point being, I'm not as sold as saying, all right, let's give the AFC to the Chiefs. I think there's some really good contenders in that AFC. We'll just have to see how it goes down the stretch. But I do want to touch also before we move on. Mayfield's job may be in jeopardy there. I'm not ready to bench him for Case Keenum, like for next week. I don't think you say that, especially because you're playing. It's kind of like a bounce back week. I think they'll win next week, but I'm kind of conflicted.
So I know you're a probability pie guy. You did that with Brady and his leaving and staying. Where would you put Baker Mayfield's job security right now? Between him being benched and starting.
For next week?
Yes. And then how about let's do next week and then by the end of the season?
Next week, see, they're playing the Bengals next week, which he scored 35 on them. I would give it like a 95% chance he starts next week.
Okay. Do you think he makes it to the end of the season?
I think he's going to start next week. I think they win against the Bengals, and I think he starts against the Raiders. So I think it's a good chance. If he comes out and he stinks against the Bengals, then that totally changes.
Right.
But I think for the foreseeable future, because just looking at the games the next 5 weeks, he plays Bengals, Raiders, Texans, Eagles, Jaguars. Like you should win more than you lose in this next 5 games. You should at least go 4-1, maybe 3-2. Maybe, but I'm leaning more towards 4-1.
Where would you put him at the end of the year?
For final record?
Yeah, no, for if he starts all 16 games. Like he finishes as the starter. What would you give the percentage for?
That he finished the percentage that he finished it. I'd give it it all depends on how he plays the next. If he plays like he did, he's going to be out, but just how they are right now, I'd give it I go down a little bit, 90% chance, 85 to 90% chance he starts the rest of this season. I just think they have too much stock in him. Case Keenum's good, but he's not. I'd rather go Baker. You have games in there that he's proven he can win. Look, he's not beating the top contenders in the league. Fine. But Case Keenum's not going to win those games either. So you might as well go with Baker. You might as well boost his confidence. I don't foresee them benching him unless he comes out and throws a stinker against the Bengals. I don't foresee them going to Case Keenum anytime soon.
You're the guru, man. I'm just following you. What
do you think? Do you think
I'm a big Baker guy, so I selfishly want him to get benched so that we can get him. So
that's what I was gonna say. Is you're asking me selfishly? I hope he stinks and then he signs a low deal with the Patriots.
I take that.
If you're asking selfishly, what I think realistically, I don't think. I think he's gonna be okay.
But in the back of my mind, I kind of want him to fall off the face of the earth, and then Bill Belichick resurrects him.
Yeah, he's a Patriot guy. I could see him playing for the Patriots.
Do we want to hop into the Patriots game after that?
Let's talk about it when we're on it.
Why not?
I don't want to talk about this too long because this was absolutely horrendous. Patriots lost to the Broncos. That was one of the worst games I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, do you have anything to get off your chest? Do you want to let them have it?
I'm going to start with a positive because I like to make a little thing called a little constructive criticism sandwich. We did a compliment sandwich. You put a compliment at the beginning, compliment at the end, have the constructive criticism in the beginning, in the middle. So I'm going to start with a positive. The defense looked pretty good. Defense was bend but don't break. They gave up a bunch of field goals.
I was going to say, anytime you hold a team to specifically field goals is a good defensive outing.
You should win that game.
Two picks.
And they had 2 picks to put you in a position to win the game. I think the defense played really well. You give up 18, you should win that game, right? Again, especially, I just think they should win the game. Now, this brings us to the debate we had last week. Danny Football.
Mm-hmm.
Would we rather play this game with Drew Lock versus Cam or what Joe Schmo, I forget the backup quarterback for the Broncos, or Jared Stidham? Drew Lock looked okay in that game. I mean, he didn't look great.
I feel like you should have I feel like the Pats should have won either way. I don't know if
they should have won either way. You're right.
I don't know if anything should have really changed.
I think Drew Lock made.
I think the Pats should still win both games.
In the beginning of the game, Drew Lock made some great throws. At the end, he made some terrible throws. But he made young quarterback mistakes. But in the beginning of the game, he looked pretty darn good. I mean, he never put in the end zone. The defense, but that first play, the first drive of the game, he threw a 40, 30-yard bomb that set up a field goal. That was the one possession.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess you're right. I go back and forth with that, what I think would be better or not.
They also didn't practice all week.
Didn't practice all week too. So that's
they had a lot going against them.
They had a lot going against them. You could tell too. The offense looked very stagnant.
They needed trick plays to get down the field.
Yeah, and it really wasn't. It wasn't a clean game.
Not at all.
It was very sloppy. It was choppy. It wasn't great. So, I guess I give them like I could have. I wish we didn't play the. I wish we would have played the Chiefs this week versus the Broncos.
Yeah,
because the Broncos
that was a winnable game. That's one we should have had.
When you're a bad goal line play away from beating the Seahawks, and you're right in it, you're 2 fumbles away from being in it with the Chiefs, you should blow out the Broncos.
Yeah.
Like, it shouldn't be even close.
I feel like this is going to be a game that can come back to haunt us if we're in a playoff race.
Looking at the schedule for the Patriots, like I said, like this was a game that I counted on them winning, and they lost. Like they got to win now. They got to beat a 49ers team. They got to win next week. Like they need a bounce back win next week, which the way the 49ers are playing, they just lost Raheem Mostert, and Jimmy G's, he played well last week.
That's another game you need to have.
It's like they're a very good football team, but you got to beat them. This is the very good football team you got to beat. And then you got the Bills next week, which are hungry for a win after losing 2 weeks in a row. That's a must win. You play the Jets, you got to win that one.
You have to win that
because you're going in against the Ravens. Ravens on the 15th, which
depending
is
on how the schedule plays out, that could be a must-win game too.
I mean, but that's a game like I feel like these next 3 they got to have so they can have that little wiggle room going into the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is the Patriots could be in rough shape if they don't win the next couple of weeks because it's something we're not used to, and it's something that I mean, if you're a true Patriots fan, you got to stick by it, and all I can do is hope they figure it out in the next couple of weeks. But I
believe in them, man. I believe in them.
That was just an ugly game. But now the sandwich, I got to give another compliment. I gave a compliment in the beginning.
What's your next compliment?
Cam Newton was on the field. And Gilmore was on the field. I mean, that they played.
They did play a football game. A football game was played.
The thing about it was also, which is nothing new in New England, I think they went outside of Gillette Stadium, held up a sign, and said, guys over 300 pounds who wants to play offensive line. Because every single person was out. Their backups were out. Like Andrews' backup center is out of the game. Like it was astonishing. It's crazy to think the Patriots' bad luck with offensive linemen. It really is because they never had luck at offensive linemen staying healthy. They've always had guys get hurt. They've always had to plug guys around. I mean, and it comes back to haunt them because like who was it that played center that was like rotated in the guard? Tooney was playing center and he muffed the snap and Cam loses 15.
Yeah.
Like we're driving and then we lose 15 yards and give it all back and then Cam makes a play and gets 13 yards on the next play. We would have a first down instead we got a punt. So like those little things, personnel wise and injury wise and practice time, really we haven't had enough. We've been shut down for 2 weeks. And like that's so I think they're going to be okay. I'm optimistic, but they need to get a win next week. Next week's as close to a must win as you can get.
I'm going to throw a negative on there. We're going to turn this into a double-decker sandwich.
Oh, my goodness. Now we got to come up with another positive. I don't
N'Keal Harry, 0 targets, man. He's not looking like a first-round pick.
He had 1 target. That end of the game.
No catches, no yards.
No catches.
All right, yeah, you're right.
That last play of the game where he fell down when the ball was going by him.
Right.
Dime from Cam Newton. That's
going to be my negative part of the sandwich, though. N'Keal Harry's not looking anything like he should.
Now we got to come up with a positive, and I'm running out of positives. Cam Newton, Julian Edelman, 2 completed passes. That's a positive.
True. James White was the best receiver on the team.
James White, next to Cam Newton, was the best receiver that we had on that team.
There you go. Cam Newton can play 3 positions. There we go. That's the compliment.
Cam Newton can play 3 positions. That's a great compliment.
He'll just
leave it there.
He'll snap the ball. He'll hand it off to himself, and then he'll throw it to himself.
Let's leave it there before we find another negative because there's a lot of negatives in that game. Now let's get to the game of the week. I think this was the best game. Texans versus Titans.
2 teams we've dumped all over. I've dumped all over.
You've dumped all over the Titans
and the Texans.
I think I've defended both teams. Like I I said Mike Vrabel, which I stand by, should be coach of the year.
I think I'm more fueled by all the people who comment on the videos and everything and say that the teams are good, and I just want them to be bad.
Well, no. How many tight? We've just had the Leonard Fournette, who was out again this week.
Oh, he's not looking good.
Leonard Fournette, who was out. By the way, all the people that said Leonard Fournette should be starting. Let's look at who had over 100 yards again this week that wasn't named Leonard Fournette. I don't want to get into it. I'm just going to call out all the Leonard Fournette people that were like, this guy is going to go off this year. He had one good week, and then he's been out for the last 3. Sorry. Ronald Jones time,
baby. You want to know about
Ronald
a good
Jones.
Running back? Derrick Henry, man.
Derrick Henry?
A freaking day.
Is it safe to say he's the best back in the game right now?
Without McCaffrey, yes.
Yeah, I would say that because McCaffrey can do both. I think McCaffrey's like a dual threat catching.
In a McCaffrey-less league, Derrick Henry is number 1.
He's the best running back. No one can stop him. I'll tell you what.
He averaged 9.6 a carry.
No one could tackle him. And coming off a short week.
He stiff-armed Josh Norman into the next week. Josh Norman's still stumbling across the field.
That's nice of him. You want to help him get into the next week. Yeah, it was incredible. Like on a short week, he still played out of his mind. And I don't know too many teams that can stop him. Like I don't know too many defenses that are going to be able to slow him down because he is right now being able to run over anyone in his path. And with the play calling of Mike Vrabel, who's doing a great job, I can't see them. I think they have a chance to. I mean, they'll lose eventually. They have a chance to, go pretty far and not get too many losses on their team. And also, Ryan Tannehill.
Huge day, 364, 4 touchdowns and 1 pick.
I don't want to get into it too much, but can we talk about how bad Adam Gase is? That's the one thing that I would say that I think Le'Veon Bell's about to go off. Any player that leaves Adam Gase in his system ends up having a career. Like Devontae Parker, we thought he was
that's a good point.
Terrible. And he didn't even leave teams.
He's lost the coach.
He just lost the coach, and he's phenomenal. Ryan Tannehill led his team to the AFC Championship
Sam Darnold
game.
just needs to leave New York, and he'll be fine.
Save Sam Darnold, because I think he's a pretty good player. Like, get him out of there. Sorry, I don't want to get into that. But the Texans, give him credit. You know what I blame that on? Romeo Crennel, who a lot of love for him there. He made a really questionable play call at the end of that game. He decided to go for 2 instead of kick the extra point and go up 8. Was it 8? Yeah, so he could have kicked the extra point and go up 8. Instead, he went for 2 to try to go up 9. And they missed it, so they were only up 7. He kicks the extra point there, they're up 8. You force them to come down the field, and if they score, they got to score 2. So I think that was a big coaching mistake by them. Which, I mean, they were rolling. Both offenses were rolling. Deshaun Watson had a heck of a day. But I think that was a crucial, not used to making the play call, head coach decisions. I think that was a bad call in that situation. But, I mean, give credit to both teams. Another thing we wanted to talk about was the overtime rules. Like, Deshaun Watson looked like
soon as he saw that coin flip, man, he was done.
And that got a lot of people talking, like, should we change the overtime rules? We do have it right now. If someone kicks a field goal in the first possession, the other team has a chance to match or score a touchdown. So why not do it with a touchdown? Like you score a touchdown college rules. You score a touchdown, you have a chance to come back and you have to score a touchdown. But if you score a touchdown, it just goes back and forth. I don't see any.
That's how I think it should go. I think it should be like the college rules where you just keep trading scores, and if it's a field goal, touchdown until someone either doesn't score or does something different than you do. Because I don't agree with ties, and I don't agree with not giving the ball to someone. But you have a pretty good.
Well, what I would say to that is, I would give a match to a point, like. I would say, let's say in that situation, Henry scores the touchdown, right? I think Watson should have a chance to score a touchdown. If they score a touchdown, I would say now it's game on. Someone's got to get a stop. Like, you can't just have bad defense. It's just, I would say at least you had a chance to stop them. And now, like, you know, it is what it is. Like, try to get a stop or not. You know what I mean? That's what I would say for that rule. I wouldn't say necessarily, you know, every time, like, let's say the Titans go down and score a touchdown and the Texans go score a touchdown and the Titans score another touchdown. I don't think the Texans should have the right to go try to score a touchdown again.
Oh, really? I think you should be able to just keep going. If teams are just going to keep scoring touchdowns back and forth, keep going.
I mean, then what's the point? Like, at some point, your defense has got to get a stop. Like, that's just rewarding bad defense and like really good offense. I don't know. I feel like at some point you got to say, like, all right, if you score here again, like, then that's it. But
I think I'm just locked in for like
I wouldn't be opposed
6 overtimes. I'm ready to go.
Now, my idea, which a lot of people don't like, but I think it would be entertaining.
Let the people know, man. Present your case.
So let's say I hate ties, as Danny Football said. I hate ties. It makes no sense whatsoever. These guys are professional athletes. We do not have ties in high school sports. We shouldn't have ties in and we don't have ties in, you know, it shouldn't be ties. Ties are bad. Winner or loser. So
you can't tie in college ball.
You can't tie in college ball. Just keep going. So if you don't want to have overtimes, which I get because you don't want to have games going on for a long time, even though I don't think it would. What I would say is a kickoff battle. So you play your one overtime, right? You can say play 2 overtimes. It's kind of the way I equate it to. It's like in soccer and hockey, if you do a shootout. That's kind of like what I equate it with. And what I would do is if you play the amount of overtimes that you say, and we're still tied, you set up your kicker on one end, the other kicker on the other end. That makes the importance of when you do the coin flip in overtime, what side you want to kick to. If you say you want the wind, then you have the wind with you in this kickoff battle. You know what I'm saying? Like it adds strategy to the kick, which way you want to kick. So I would
there's sun, maybe there's glare. Who knows?
Maybe there's glare. Maybe there's wind. Maybe there's I don't know.
Opposing fans could be in the other end zone.
Opposing fans could be in the other end zone. So what I would do is set them up on an extra point. Coin flip it. Whoever won the coin flip to start kicks first, or you could do away team kicks first. They kick. Then the next team kicks. If they both make it, they move back 5 or 10 yards. I'd say 5. Well, to make it go quicker, probably 10 yards. You can do 5 or 10 yards. Then that person goes, the next person goes. Then eventually you're going to be probably in, I would guess, with these
within
kickers,
4 kicks, you're already at the 50.
You're already at the 50. So then you say if say the first person misses, if that next person makes it, then
Game
they
over.
win. Game over.
What happens if they both miss?
They both miss, you re-kick.
Do you knock it back?
Re-kick.
From that same spot?
I would say
so you just keep kicking from 50 yards until someone makes it?
Maybe you both. I don't know. This idea is a work in progress here, Danny Football. Like this is just the idea I had. I haven't worked through the nuts and bolts of it.
I'd say if a kicker misses, I would say if
both miss you move up 5.
Yeah, make it closer.
I like it. Hey, I'm the world's an imperfect place. I'm willing to
I do like that idea though. I am on board with that idea.
Because then it like puts importance on the kicker. Like how many teams have such bad kickers? Like why are you like giving? They could go for 2 every time. They don't have to kick a field goal. Like it puts some importance on these kickers to make in that situation. And like if you're looking at it in like perspective, how many times is this going to happen? Probably not. Like, it's probably going to be very few times this actually happens. But in the times like when the Phillies – not the Philly. Oh, my goodness. The Eagles – I was thinking Philly. When the Eagles went for the tie, they went to tie a game. They didn't try to win. They wanted to tie. It discourages that because now you got to go kick. Unless you have confidence in your kicker and you want to just punt on it. I mean, I don't know. I like this idea. I've been on this idea for the last couple of years. I don't know if I talked about it on the pod, but I'm big on this idea. And I think it would adds some excitement to the game.
You want an idea that they would never do, but I kind of want to see?
What? Let me
Do
hear.
you remember the old XFL scramble where they would take one guy from each team, start him on I think the 20. They would put the ball at midfield, and whoever ran and got the ball first got the ball for the kickoff.
Got it for the kickoff? I thought you were going to say won the game.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You do that, but to win the game. So
Wow.
say the Chiefs are in overtime. They go past the overtime, and they have to do the scramble to win. Just put Tyreek Hill in, and you're gonna win. Fastest man alive.
Is he? Yeah, I'm trying to think of who else I would put out there against Tyreek Hill that would make it I think Tyreek Hill wins.
Who would give Tyreek Hill a race?
I can't think of anyone.
Not Derrick Henry. He needs like some time to get going.
Derrick Henry, if you started him at like where you start at the 20,
Yeah. So you give him
you start him at like
from
the 10,
end zone.
yeah, from the end zone, and give him 20 yards to start. I think he has a chance.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I don't know. I think it's a great idea. Roger Goodell, if you are listening here, that's not a bad idea. If you use it, I just want a little cut, want a little money. Sponsor the podcast, that will work too. Official sponsored by the NFL, that would be a great thing. So, but that was weekend recap. That was a long weekend recap, long-winded one.
A
lot going on in this week of the NFL. So we're going to move on to our next segment, which is another favorite of ours, is Picks of the Week. Picks of the Week. All right. So for Picks of the Week, we each pick a team that we think is going to win. We try to pick competitive games that are tough games. Right now, we're off to a slow start of Season 3. Zach right now is 0-2 with a game yet to be played. He has 2 games in this week because his Steelers-Titans game that he picked a couple weeks ago.
We're catching back up
this week. He's catching back up. I'm 1-2, so I'm holding a game up. I think I'm a game up. I don't know how you read that, but
1.5.
I'm a half a game up. I think I'm a half game up. So
yes, because I have 2 games in hand. Yes.
Yeah. So we know you're picking Steelers over Titans, correct?
Yep. Steelers over Titans. I got moved to this week, so I'll have that one.
So what's your new game that you're picking for this week?
So this week we're gonna go with the Pats over the Niners. I think the Pats are gonna bounce back after a rough week. You said it earlier. The Niners are on and off. So I think Bill's going to be ready to go. They're going to have a full week of practice. Cam's going to be motivated. The whole team's going to be motivated. And we're going to get back on track, man. We're going to get the Pats back on track. We're going to get the duck boats ready. We're going to do this again.
All right. I love it. They need it. They need a win, right? A big win this week. I'm going with another team that needs a big bounce back is Packers over Texans. Aaron Rodgers was under duress the entire game against the I want to say the new Patriots, but the Bucks, which our friend Leonard Fournette did not play in. Packers need a big bounce back win. They kind of got their one
buried.
The Bucks basically took their lunch money, went into the cafeteria, bought a sloppy Joe, and shoved it in their face.
Yep.
Like that's what happened in that game. They took a quick 10-0 lead, and then the Bucks proceeded to score 30-something points. By the way, did Bruce Arians just figure out that Gronk is on his team? I
think Gronk just figured out that he's playing football.
They just threw the ball to him about every time they got, and a week or 2 after they said he's here to block. So thanks a lot, because I dropped him in fantasy football saying after you said he's a blocker, and now he's putting up 18 points. Shout out Rob Marcello. He picked him up in the BRZ league
out of nowhere.
5 minutes before.
Out of nowhere.
I take a little responsibility for that because I asked him if he wanted to make a trade for one of my tight ends, and he then proceeded to pick up Gronk. So I think I take a little I'm sorry to whoever he played this week. I take a little responsibility for that, but big week from Gronk. So I'm going Packers over the Texans. Going right into it, we're going to do waiver pickup of the week. I'm going with a guy that the Patriots wanted a couple of years ago, Adam Humphries. Adam Humphries is rostered in 4.5% of leagues. He had a big week last week, 6 receptions for 64 yards and a touchdown. He has actually been pretty consistent, and especially with Ryan Tannehill playing as well as he is, he's a great pickup this week. He has scored double digits, I think, more games than in most of the games he's played. Week 1, he had 10.7. Week 2, he had 15.8. Week 3, he had 8. He had the bye week, was out against Buffalo, and then had 18 points. I think this guy is a great flex play, which with some high upside, and he should be available in most of your leagues. So go get him. I think he's a good play, especially with some injury. If you're having some injury problems, go get him.
So I'm gonna go with another Steeler wide receiver. I feel like
Ride the Steelers train, Zach.
I feel like the
All
Claypool
aboard.
train is already pulled out of the station. The secret's out on Claypool, but I'm gonna go with my guy. Where is he? There he is, James Washington. We're gonna go with James Washington. Week 1, 11.4. Week 2, 5.2. Week 3, 8.6. Week 5, 5.5. But last week against the Browns, 16.8. So
Yeah.
it might be. I think he's starting to find his groove with the three-headed monster that is Juju, Claypool, and him. So I think it's time to cash in on another Steelers wide receiver.
Yeah, definitely worth a. He should be available in most leagues. Yeah, so he should be available in most leagues. I think he's good. I think the jury's still out, but I think he's been proven. He's been there a while. He's Big Ben trusts him, so I think he's a great person to put on your roster.
Good value pick in case you're running low on wide receivers.
Exactly. So that's our waiver pickup of the week. Hopefully we get a couple wins for picks of the week because we are struggling.
In a perfect world, we're going to come back 2-2 next week.
In a perfect world, we'll come back 500. That would be pretty good. We need to come up with something for the end of the football season. Who's going to be for the winner? I don't know what it is. Bragging rights again? I don't know. So we're going to move off of the NFL because I feel like we talked about that for most of the show. We're going to get into a little World Series preview. It's the World Series we all thought would happen, the Dodgers versus the Rays.
One half of it, at least.
If
the Braves had made it, it would have been the World Series no one saw coming.
It was Braves Rays. That would have been an awesome series. I would have watched. It would have
been an awesome series, but I think Manfred would have been pulling his hair out over the ratings.
I'll tell you what, unless it was Dodgers Astros, that would have been an incredible series. That would have been. I was saying that before the AL and NLCS. I think if it was Dodgers Astros, it would have been one of the highest rated World Series in a long time.
100%. There's so many storylines going into that.
Yeah, but I am happy for the Rays. They don't win a lot. They're kind of been crapped on the last I don't know, minus a couple years mixed in, but they've pretty much been crapped on in the AL East, and they have to play the Red Sox and the Yankees. They're always that kind of third fiddle team, and even the Blue Jays. But this year they're at the top of the AL with a good chance. I think they have a really good chance.
This is a winnable series for them. This isn't just 4-game sweep.
No, I think it's a very good chance to win. And one of the biggest things on their side is they got TB12 on their side. Wherever he goes, they win. Tampa Bay Lightning. Who would have thought they would have won the Stanley Cup? Who would have thought the Rays would have been in the World Series?
Not me. I would not have picked the Rays for the World Series.
So let me tell you something. If Tom Brady comes to the Tampa and the Tampa Bays win the World Series, I'm putting all my money on the Bucks win. I'm changing my mind. I'm putting all of my money on the Bucks winning the Super Bowl because it's honestly ridiculous that this guy, wherever he goes, everywhere wins. It really is ridiculous. And if you look at it, I mean, an utter collapse by the Boston Celtics and the Boston Bruins.
Out of this World Series, either LA is guaranteed 2 titles or Tampa Bay is guaranteed 2 titles. So where's the narrative?
That's true. I guess you're
right.
saying
LA will have either LA has 2 or Tampa will have 2.
That's true. If the Heat won the NBA championship, I would have said that it's 100% Tom Brady.
I don't know if Miami claims him.
No, I know, but Florida, it's all the same, right?
Florida's, yeah.
Our Florida fans.
Let's not get into Florida.
Let's get into the geography. So one question I would say is,
Yeah, after
will
you
this
gassed up
be
the Rays. You gassed up the Rays there. What about this question?
let's go with let's go the other side of the coin. What do you think about the Dodgers? Is this going to be the year for the Dodgers? They've gone to the World Series now 3 out of 4 years.
Heartbreak all 3 times.
Heartbreak all 3 times. Well, 2 times so far. Will this be the third heartbreak season?
No, that's why I said 3. I think they're going to lose this one.
They're gonna lose this one.
They're going to lose this one. Tampa in 6.
Tampa in 6.
Mark my words. Tampa in 6.
See, I really want to believe in that. I really want to believe Tampa's going to win. I'm rooting for them because they just, like I said, they haven't had that success. There's an old saying for the Dodgers. It's gone back to all the people that said were mad at us for saying the Lakers championships don't work. Let's go back to the Dodgers when they're in Brooklyn. There's always next year. And that's been the Dodgers saying for a while, and I have a feeling it's going to be another saying they're going to say.
I'm going to actually check if the Dodgers claim those titles.
Zach is very salty about that.
I just want to make sure. I said they didn't last week, so I just want to fact check myself.
I think the Rays are going to win. I don't think the Dodgers. If the Dodgers lose, this is going to be probably the most heartbreaking one because they went out and got, Mookie. They got a bunch of big weapons in that lineup in rotation.
They do claim the one Brooklyn title. Hey. So LA's won 5, Brooklyn won 1.
What are you going to do? I with Zach, I don't think they're going to win. But who you rooting for in the series? I more said this as like a team, but Zach took it as a player. Who are you rooting for in the series? Or coach?
I thought you were going for more of what we did last week with.
Were you happy?
You were happy Dwight Howard won a title. I was happy Alex Caruso won a title, and then we got into it about Dwight Howard. If they win it, Dave Roberts is my guy.
I love Dave Roberts.
I think he's taken a lot of flack for the last couple of years that he didn't deserve, and I feel like if he pulls this one out, then you can't do nothing but heap praise on the guy. He's done a great job.
Yeah, I'm rooting for. I'm more meant to like what team you're rooting for. I'm rooting for the Rays, but I too would be happy for Dave Roberts. Like I feel like he's a good manager. He reminds me a lot of like Alex Cora type managing, like a player's guy. I mean,
we'll circle back to that before we get off MLB playoffs. We keep going
about Alex Cora.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think maybe he stole some signs. I don't know. It never came out, but I don't think he stole signs. He just seems he's a winner. He knows how to talk to guys, players. And I just really like Dave Roberts. Before we get into your Alex Cora theories, you said Tampa in 6. I'm going to say Tampa in 7. Let's go to 7 games. I like a little 7-game series.
Doubling down.
My last question before we get to Cora, is Bloom a master genius?
I think
Bloom put this roster together.
I think this is a huge boost of confidence for Red Sox fans. If he can do this in Tampa, give him a couple of years and he can turn the Red Sox into the exact same thing.
Let him get fired, and the next year we're going to win a title. Did he get fired or did he just leave?
I think he left.
I think you're right. But I agree. It gives me a little more confidence in him. I had a lot of confidence in him going in.
I think a lot of people called for his head after the Mookie deal without realizing what kind of GM he actually is, and that's a slow builder.
Right. And also what I said, I defended him on the Mookie deal. I don't think that was him. I think that was John Henry and ownership.
That was all pay him. That was all ownership.
I don't think that was Chaim Bloom. Now, could he have tried to get more from him? Sure, but when you have the owner saying you need to trade this guy, I give him a lot. I don't.
And the whole league knows that this guy is going to be traded. That brings the price down.
His stock is a lot down. And when you think he's not going to be re-signed, his stock goes way down. But, all right, what's your Alex Cora theory before we move on?
He was making some tweets this weekend, and
I'm not saying have the googly eyes.
I'm not saying he's coming back, but boy, howdy do I hope he comes back.
I hope he does come back too. If not him, I want Jason Varitek to be at the helm. And if he does come back, I want Jason Varitek right on the bench with him as the bench coach.
All right,
I want these
Cora,
two
please
guys
come back.
coach.
That's all I'm asking.
Come back. We've been asking for a couple months now. Please come back.
That would just turn everything around. That would morale would be through the roof.
The morale would definitely go up if we got Cora. And if we sign Bauer, morale is even higher. All right, so we're going to talk a little NBA now. We're hitting all the topics. This idea was sparked by inspiration by the horrendous and uttermost disrespect the Denver Nuggets showed to Carmelo Anthony when they came out. Their Twitter or Instagram, I think it was Twitter, came out with a graphic that said the all-time favorite Nuggets players, and Carmelo Anthony was left off that list. I'm speechless. That is, the guy has already been disrespected by no one wanting to sign him. But now the place that drafted him, that actually he made relevant again, leaves him off the list of like all-time Nuggets players. That like, there's no words. There's nothing else to say, but just who says it? It's a little blasphemous. That's blasphemy.
Oh my God.
Like it's literally terrible.
You brought this topic up and you were hot about it. I don't know if there's just sour grapes in Denver, like I mentioned earlier before the show, if because he chose to leave for New York, if Denver just said, oh, well, we hate you too, and they just kind of left him off out of spite. But like you said, man, I mean, Western Conference Finals, he put this team on the map. He was beating the Kobe Lakers at one point. This dude was the Nuggets for so many years, and you're just going to leave him off? I mean, I don't even know he could possibly do that.
And he went cross-conference. That's like if, knock on wood, where is it? Jason Tatum.
Oh man, I don't like it. I don't like that you're putting this out in the universe.
Yeah, I don't like Jason Tatum. Let's go Marcus Smart. Let's go a step down. Marcus Smart. I would hate this too. But let's say like
Brad Wanamaker.
I'll drive him to the airport today. I don't know. Like it would be like a Celtics guy that you thought like you think Celtics. He demanded a trade to, we'll say the Nuggets. Like he wanted to go to the Nuggets or the Mavericks. Cross conference that only plays you twice a year, and 10 years, and he got you to put you relevant again. That's why I was thinking. It's probably more Isaiah Thomas. Thomas kind of.
I think they just took it so personally that they purposely left him off.
Like that's pretty crazy. That's like 10 years. Like we gotta kind of let that go. I'm over Ray. I'm over Ray leaving. That's more. Ray went to the team that beat us.
I feel like they almost take it equally to how Cleveland took LeBron leaving the first time because they were in the same draft class.
Yeah.
So I wonder if the Nuggets almost see it as Cleveland did when LeBron left, was like, oh, you don't believe in us as a franchise and you're choosing to leave us, so we hate you, which I feel is asinine. But I mean, it's the Denver Nuggets.
It's like crazy.
They'll do the same to Murray when he eventually leaves.
Or Joker.
Exactly.
If Joker leaves, they'll do the same thing. I mean, that team's pretty good right now. I don't think that they got too much talent. Like it's not like they don't have enough talent. When they have to start paying all these guys, maybe that will start happening. But as of right now, they have a lot of talent going in right now. But anyways, we decided to do this segment where we think the Mount Rushmore of teams, certain teams we'll read off, and we'll pick 4 names that we think, when we think of these 4 names, we think of this team. So we're going to get into our first team, the Miami Heat. 4 names that you think of Miami.
Do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
I'll go first. We're including coaches in this as well. Just a heads up. Not all of these will have coaches, but if there's a coach that we think of, then obviously we can include them. I'm going, obviously, LeBron James. I mean, LeBron has to be in there. D-Wade. I think D-Wade is like I think a Heat the most when I think of D-Wade. Eric Spoelstra, who doesn't get enough credit. He started there as a film guy. He's worked there for over 20 years. He's probably going to work there for another 20 years. He just knows how to win and keep them in the game and relevant. So I go Eric Spoelstra. And the last one's tough because there's a lot of guys.
My fourth is a lock.
Like, there's a lot of guys that like Alonzo Mourning and like not talent-wise, but Udonis Haslem, who played his entire career with the Heat, where you think of like the Heat, but you can't leave this guy off when he played for them and won a championship. I got to go Shaq. I got to put Shaq in there.
All right, so I'm going to try to approach this list where I'm only going to put one guy on each team. So I'm
that played together?
Just in general. So I'm not going to double up on Shaq. I'm going to save Shaq.
Oh, is that a rule? Do you want to make that a rule?
It's up to you. That's just the way I'm going to approach it.
If we make that a rule, I'm going Alonzo Mourning.
Okay. If you want to stick with that,
let's stick with that rule. Let's do that. I like that because then we don't have double up on players. I like that. So I'll go.
You nailed 3 of my 4 with Spoelstra, LeBron. I think of LeBron in Miami. I don't think of him as a Cav or a Laker. He's Miami Heat.
A little bit of Cleveland. A little bit.
I don't know. I just like
Miami.
That huge introduction press conference and everything. His first title was in Miami. I think of him as a Miami Heat. So I'm going to say Spoelstra, James, Wade. Wade, obviously. He is the franchise. And then I'm going to go Pat Riley. When I think of Pat Riley, I think of the Miami Heat now. So I'm going to go Pat Riley for my 4th.
I think that's a good one. I battled between Pat Riley and Alonzo Mourning. But I already had one non-player. I wanted to have 3 players in there. I try not to have more than one exec or head coach. But I like Pat Riley on there as well. The Bulls, I mean, I think one of them is like no surprise there. I think it's crazy if you don't have Jordan. I mean, that's pretty obvious. But I want to hear your other 4, Zach. What are your other 3? Excuse me.
Bulls, I'm going to go Jordan, Pippen, Phil Jackson, and Derrick Rose. That's
a good list. I think I'd be pretty close to the same. I mean, when Phil gets 2, 3.
Actually, you know what? I'll take back Phil because I think of him more as the Lakers coach.
I mean, with us, like our generation, probably that would be the Lakers coach. But when you have 2 3-peats, for one team, you like I totally get having him on. I would probably go the same, to be honest with you. I'd probably go Phil just for the 2 3-peats, Jordan, Pippen, and D Rose. But an honorable mention goes to Joakim Noah. I think I loved the Derrick Rose, Joakim Noah teams of the late 2000s. The absolute grit of Joakim Noah was like, I think of Chicago thinking about Joakim Noah. And like if Derrick Rose, if he wasn't so good, like the first, like he was an MVP, I would put Joakim Noah in there every day of the week. Because he called out the city of Cleveland. It was just the absolute grit. He's old school guy. I love Joakim Noah. Defensive player of the year. Love him.
All right.
Pistons. I'm going, you got to go old school with the first one. Isaiah Thomas, old Isaiah Thomas. Got to go him. I'm going Rip Hamilton. I think of the Pistons with him, that face mask, that championship that they won. I'm going, who's my other guy? I have it written down somewhere. Rip Hamilton. I'm going Rasheed Wallace.
Okay.
Rasheed. Rasheed Wallace.
There's also Ben Wallace.
Ben Wallace. I kept going back and forth between the two. Ben Wallace was a stud there too.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also going to go Chauncey Billups. Chauncey Billups, Hall of Famer.
Mr.
Big Shot. We could have had him on the Celtics. We had him on the Celtics and then traded him away. Love Chauncey Billups. So I go Chauncey, Wallace, IT, and Rip.
Damn. You pretty much – that's a good 4. I think I'm going to go Rip. You have to have Rip,
Rip.
Chauncey, those two new school Pistons bad boy guys. Old IT, you got to go old IT for the bad boys, and then I'm gonna go Larry Brown because of the absolute gauntlet he had to go through to get those titles.
Larry Brown, like that, people forget who he had to go through. He had to go through the Celtics,
The Bulls,
the Bulls,
and the Showtime Lakers.
and the Showtime Lakers to have a chance at the title. Like, that's pretty incredible. All right, so we're gonna get to the Knicks. What are some? Do you want me to go first on this one, or you want to go first?
No, I got it.
Okay.
No one really lately, but
Yeah.
Patrick Ewing has to be on there.
Yep.
Kristaps Porzingis, I'll put him on there.
Wow.
Yeah, I just think of that draft day where the kid was booing him, and then he turns out to be the greatest player on the team.
Yeah, that was big. That you rooted for that guy. I was happy that he played well.
I'm gonna go Nate Robinson.
Nate Robinson,
Dunk contest champion. And I'll go Jeremy Lin. Linsanity.
Stop it.
Those are my 4 Knicks.
Stop it. All right. I'm going to get us back on track here after that atrocity. Patrick Ewing, obviously, got to pick him. Charles Oakley. Give the man some respect, Charles Oakley. Jeez. Charles Oakley was one of the grittiest players ever. Got thrown out of Madison Square Garden like a champ, and then comes back a couple weeks later. So I'll go Charles Oakley. I think he wasn't able to win a title, but I think you gotta go Carmelo. Like, I think Carmelo was big for the.
Okay, you're gonna put Carmelo on the Knicks since the Nuggets didn't want him.
Well, since we're not, you don't want him, then we'll put him on the
we'll
Knicks.
Take him.
Plus, we're not doing the Nuggets, so I can use
him wherever you want.
Yeah, so I'm going Carmelo Anthony and Amari Stoudemire. The guy played there for 100 years and was like an all-star there. I think you got to go.
I actually think of Amari as a son.
Really?
Yeah. Him and Steve Nash.
I see. I can see that, but we're not doing the Nut Sons either. I like but Charles Oakley.
That if John puts this into a clip, all the Knick fans are gonna get pissed.
Yeah, I would be upset if they put Porzingis in Lynn City and the all-time Knicks fan. Patrick, I can't believe you didn't have Charles Oakley.
I mean, if the dude's gonna get tossed out of his own arena,
people were booing the security guards for throwing him out. He was unbelievable. He would get in. I wouldn't want to mess with him. He's on Dancing with the Stars too. Shout out to him. I think he got thrown. Off. But,
he got escorted out of that one too.
Yeah, he got escorted. He gets escorted out of live events. All right, we're gonna go Warriors. Warriors greats. I mean, I don't think it's crazy to think Steph, Clay. I'm not gonna give Draymond Green the satisfaction. I'm gonna go Baron Davis.
There we go.
Baron Davis touched the old school.
Mm-hmm. The We Believe
guys. And the next guy I kind of struggle with, but I think I keep going back and forth between two people, and I think, man, this one's tough. Who do I go with? I think I'm gonna save him. Yeah. I think I'm gonna save him. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna save this guy for another team. Go back. I'm gonna go Rick Barry.
Rick Barry. Wow.
The old granny shot.
I was not expecting that one.
Rick Barry. I was either gonna go Rick Barry or I had another guy that I'm not gonna make nameless, but I was between him and this other guy and Monte Ellis.
Okay, because I was gonna say my 4 is Steph, Clay, Baron Davis, and Monte Ellis.
Love Monte Ellis.
He was Steph before Steph.
Man, I messed up. I should have picked him. Can I change?
I was waiting for you to go 4 for 4 and just say that we had the same one. Rick Barry's a good pick, though. That's an old school pick.
That's an old school pick. I like him. I think of like he's a old school Warriors guy. All right. Let's go 76ers. I know we're running out of time, but 76ers.
We'll start rifling through these.
Yeah,
I'm
let's
gonna go AI. You have to have AI.
Of course.
I'm gonna go Iguodala. I think of
Yep.
Iguodala when I think of the Sixers.
Yep.
Let's go Embiid, just because he's part of the process, that process era. And let's say I'll go Dr. J.
Yeah. I like that. I would probably go AI. You got to go AI.
I think you have to have Iverson in there.
I think like he has to be. I think he's probably the greatest, if not one of, if not the greatest Sixer of all time. Then you got to go Dr. J. Moses Malone is great. And again, like I want to save this. Maybe I'll use him here. Wilt the still. I'll use him here now. Wilt Chamberlain.
I was going back and forth on him and Dr. J, but I think Dr. J just was, I don't know,
100 points, man. Like 100 points.
I feel like Dr. J was more impactful on the game.
I was between him and Wilt Chamberlain. I feel like had to be on. I was whether it's saving him for another team. But I feel like it's a good time. Charles Barkley's another guy. Love to use
he's
Charles.
a Sun for me. He's a Sun.
Yeah, but we're not doing the Suns.
That's a good point. I'm just trying to keep it traditional.
I hear you.
Trying to keep it clean.
Raptors.
I'm gonna go Vince, Tracy McGrady, DeRozan. Man, one more. Chris Bosh.
I go Vin City. You got to go Vin City. DeRozan, Chris Bosh, Kyle Lowry. Did you say Kyle Lowry too?
I did not say Kyle Lowry.
I
don't know. He doesn't really. I don't know.
Kyle Lowry doesn't.
I don't know if I don't know. He's always like the second guy. He's always the second guy.
But he's always the guy that stays.
True.
Like I think you got to say I think that's has something to say. Who was your fifth again? Fourth. It was Bosh, DeRozan, Vin City, and who?
Tracy McGrady.
Oh, that's a good one. I think of the Magic with him too. I know we're not doing them, but that's like who I think of Tracy McGrady with.
I just think of that OG Raptors pair.
Yeah, that's a good team.
Right, Spurs.
Now the best three for like these are the three greatest franchises I think in NBA history. We'll go with the Spurs. Spurs greats. I think you got to go Pop. Absolutely Pop. One of the greatest coaches of all time. Timmy D, one of the best power forwards, if not the best power forward of all time. And this is where it gets tricky here. This is where it gets a lot tricky because there's three guys to fit two spots, I think, in my eyes. I think you got to go with people forget about I'll start with I like Manu Ginobili. Big Mono guy.
All right.
I just like how he came off the bench and he was a true professional. And this is where people are going to get a little mad, I think. David Robinson.
Okay.
David Robinson was like the face of that team before Timmy Duncan came. And they won a championship together. So I go Mono, David Robinson, Timmy D, and Pop.
And that last one wasn't the one I thought was going to differentiate us, but I'm going to say Pop, Duncan, Robinson, and I'm going to throw Kawhi in under the Spurs.
Really?
I'm going to throw Kawhi under the Spurs.
See, Tony Parker, I thought you would have went Tony Parker. I don't like that he went and played for the Hornets one year.
I never really thought of Tony Parker and Manu as like A-plus guys, whereas Kawhi was like the man.
But he didn't have many years of being the
man.
Like
but he's still just it was always Spurs, and then he had 1 year in Toronto. He's only had 1 year in LA.
Yeah, he hasn't had enough like longevity to be on be the face of be the face long term, like legacy wise of a franchise. All right, Lakers. This one's tough because there's so many.
There's a lot of possibilities.
I mean, I obviously you got to go Kobe.
Yep, you have to have Kobe.
You got to go Shaq.
Have to have Shaq.
You got to go Magic Johnson. And here's really kicking me for not using Phil because I think I'm going to go I have Kobe, Shaq, Magic. I think I got to go Kareem. Like Kareem's got to be the fifth, the fourth spot. Like he's just so he's he's like the third. I would say he's like the third best. I think consensusly the third best player of all time, and really should be in the talks for the top player of all time. Whether or not you give it to him, okay, but I think he's definitely deserves to be in the conversation.
Yeah.
He's so underrated. He was such a good player.
Yeah.
Kobe,
Shaq, Showtime, and Kareem have to have that.
But Phil's right there. I'm glad I used Phil. Actually, I did use Phil. I used him for the Bulls. I'm glad I used him for the Bulls because that's a tough one. And the Celtics all-time list. Who are you going with?
I'm gonna go Larry, Pierce, Bob Cousy, Bill Russell.
See, the two that I think are locks are Larry Bird. I think everyone knows where I stand on Larry Bird. Bill Russell. I think those two are like without a doubt.
Paul Pierce isn't a lock?
Bob Cousy.
Oh my God.
And Red Auerbach.
Wow.
You heard it here first. I love Paul Pierce. I love Paul Pierce. And in a lot of ways, if we were just doing players, yeah, he would probably be on my faces of Celtics, Mount Rushmore Celtics.
I thought you were going to say faces on the mountain. I'd be like, oh
faces
my God.
on the mountain. I don't know. It's tough. Like if we weren't doing coaches and players, I'd probably put Paul in there.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like I love Paul Pierce, but I think he's extremely I think his
go off, man. Go off.
I think it's a little overrated.
Oh, there's the take.
Honest with you,
John, clip that.
He was on his way out until we got KG and Ray. Like he wanted to be traded unless he got players. We finally got players for him, rightfully so. But he was demanding a trade. KG was the most impactful player on that team. I think he was the most important. He was the glue that kept that team together. And then I never got it. I get it, but I just was, I don't know. I'm more of a KG guy, I guess. And I left him off my list because I didn't think KG, I think of Timberwolves when I think of KG. So I don't know. Bill Russell won championships. Larry Bird was the best Celtic of all time. Bob Cousy, was part of those early great teams, and Red started the whole thing. So I think those guys are the most influential. Now, Jason Tatum could crack that list.
He's on his way.
He's on his way to cracking that list. So let us know in the comments what you think about our what we picked for Mount Rushmores, if there's anyone we missed. I know there's always going to be that stereotypical Paul Pierce ? There's always going to be those people no, you didn't pick this one. You didn't pick this person. So I can't wait to read those.
That's what the comments are for.
Can't wait to read them. Speaking of comments, make sure you leave a follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Big Red Zone. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to our channel on YouTube, like this video along with all our other videos, and leave a comment on Apple Podcast. Leave a review on Apple Podcast. Let us know what you think. And tell a friend. Tell a friend. So that's all the time we have for this week of the Big Red Zone. I want to thank Danny Football for joining.
Great
Producer
job, Big Red.
John,
Great
as
job.
always, doing all the work behind the scenes. Appreciate you. Be safe and have a great week, everyone.